What is up, survivors? This is Harv with Hardcore, and for today's 101 episode, we're going to go over the Ark Genesis specific Engrams. So the Engrams that specifically got added to the Genesis Part 1 expansion. I'm over here on the ocean biome, just kind of hanging out, placed a bunch of little stuff, and we're going to go over everything. So there's some weapons, there's some tools, there's some structures, there's some fun stuff. It's a little bit of everything, but we're going to go over it. It's not too terribly big, it's pretty cut and dry. We're not going to go over these just yet. We're going to go over the basics. So one of the first things you're going to unlock is what I have in my hand, which is the fishnet. So the fishnet's going to do exactly what you would think it would do. It's going to allow you to gather fish with it. So it's not your typical fishing. You're actually going to throw this in the water after actual fish. These are actually really effective to use on the bog biome because the small bodies of water that are really shallow are really good for it. So you can just throw the net out and it'll drop down, and then you can actually reel it back in. So sort of like fishing with the fishing rod, but you're not gonna actually have like bait on the hook. You're gonna reel the fish in. It's just a different method of fishing, really. You're still gonna get some stuff out of it. Primarily you're gonna get fish meat, prime fish meat out of it too. But that's pretty much it. It's super easy to craft. It's actually super useful in the bog biome simply because the shallow water that you can walk in, and there's plenty of coalfish, prawns, and saber-tooth salmon in there that you can actually pick up. There's actually a mission for using this in the bog biome, just catching fish, and you can do some cool stuff. But the fish are not biting over here, which is rather annoying. These couple little toys right here are the little additions that I want to talk about. First and foremost is this pressure plate. So this guy is highly customizable. You can change it to pin code it. You can change it how it works. You can link it to keypads. You can even turn logging on it as well. But anyway, so you place this and it is just a pressure plate, but you can have it pin coded to other things. Basically set it so that if you step on it, an alarm goes off, or step on it and a door opens, or step on it and a turret turns off. So I actually have this keypadded to this turret just to show you what I'm talking about here. And when I step on this, the tech turret turns on. So you can have it sneaky, you could have it hidden in the woods sneakily and tied to one of your turrets. So if somebody steps on it, it turns the turret on. You could also have it put in front of doors or certain things to make sure to make certain doors open or close, depending on what you want to do. The uses are pretty much endless with this. You can get really creative with this guy. I think it's a very simple Engram, but I'm not sure if I see it terribly used. And I see in my head, my imagination's kind of going crazy with the amount of silly things you could probably do with this thing. Coupled with something like this guy right here. So this is one of the first tech things we're going to talk about, and this is the tech sensor. So you actually can set ranges, pin codes, everything like that on it as well. But basically you set a area that this thing detects, and you can set it so when creatures walk through it, when players walk through it, it actually sets off an alarm and lets you know. So think of it as a really, really, really small parasaur as far as the alert bonuses go, but you can actually set it, and the detection range is pretty big. So I actually set the width as high as it would go just to get an idea, and you can set the height and depth to it and change the rotation. You can change the shape. You can increase the radius, everything. But right now I just have it on the standard, and what we'll do is we'll just show you the detection range on here. Well, if actually it was gonna boink. Really? Did I turn it back off? There we go. So what it is that's the standard detection range, right? So that's just this normal box, but you'd have to make it, but you can go back in here and adjust all the different settings to make it even bigger and bigger and bigger. And you can make it pretty big. I think I had the pin, maybe I had the pin range set. Oh no, I didn't have any of them set. Maybe it cleared out. Detection range. Oh yeah, okay. Here we go. So if I hide this and show here, as you can see, this is going off of like basically kind of like just a one path basically. But as you can see, it's pretty far out there for something that's little. Now they do need to be powered by tech generators, so you're gonna want a generator nearby and make it power to these guys. But I mean, it's super easy to hide these things in like a bush or something like that, and have something like this patrolling your things. And at the same time, you can also set this up to pin code to activate things too. So you could have this set up to a turret, so when somebody crosses over this, the turret kicks on, which is pretty neat. Kind of a mobile defense, an active defense system that is kind of surprising. The possibilities are endless between these two to be able to tie them together and do all sorts of different silly things with them. I definitely see a lot of more ways to autonomously defend your base with these things. You know, I think a lot of times some of the biggest, I think it's going to make PvP base defensing a lot different, because you're going to be able to do some silly stuff with this that is going to catch you off guard. Like I'm waiting to see somebody set the pressure plates or the motion sensor up, so you know the enemy sets on it and doors open with turrets behind it. Like I think it'd be really really funny to see some of the stuff, and even from a PvE standpoint, being able to open certain things, access to it. I don't know. I think it's really cool. I think it opens up a lot of doors. Next up is one of the little tech structures over here, and this is actually the jump pad. You can turn these on and off. This is the on thing right now, but when you hop on them, it shoots you up in the air. It's kind of like, I'm trying to land back on it. Can I land right back on it? Does it? No. Yeah, so we got like a little arc trampoline. Oh, God. So yeah, it's like a little arc trampoline, basically. Super fun. I like it. I definitely see its uses depending on where you're building at. With elevation changes, things like that, I think it's going to make building a lot easier. Cool little thing to maybe put inside of your house instead of an elevator. You know what I mean? Like put this in the middle of the house instead of an elevator. Just go whoop, up to the second, third floors. Imagine that. Yeah, I definitely see people combining a lot of these. I think it's cool. At first, when I saw a lot of these Engrams, I was like, I mean, it's okay, but I don't really know. But the more and more I get to play with them, the more I realize that there was actually a lot of thought that went into them, and it definitely, they were perfect little additions to stack on the already pretty extensive Engrams that you have in Ark. But that's pretty much as far as building goes. There's two other things we want to talk about, and we're going to have to go down the water for these. You have probably, if you checked out any of our build videos, you've probably seen me use these already, but these are ocean platforms. So you can use these in other oceans as well on other maps if the Engrams are uploaded, but specifically it was really made for the ocean biome because there's really no place to build on. There's very small patches to build out here. So the idea was to have these ocean platforms. So you have a small one and you have a large one. This is the small one. And as you can see, it's really not that small. I can get down here so you can see, you can take a look, but this is pretty substantial. And what I really like about these is they kind of work like one big foundation piece. And what I mean by that is a lot of this stuff can snap. So on the outside, obviously you can go right down into the water, but on the inside, it actually has ladders going up at 4 different points where you can climb right back into. Also, you can reel those ladders up. They're kind of like the portable ladders from Aberration. You can roll them back up, roll them up and down. Ceilings will snap to these. So you don't need to like build it out or anything. You can just make ceilings all the way across this if you just wanted to close this whole thing in. You could even go go walls down and make it like a pool almost, maybe with a giant hatch frame underneath it, just to hold your smaller tames, things like that. Your smaller water tames anyway. But the possibilities are definitely endless, and this is just the regular version. The bigger version is it's definitely a lot bigger, a lot bigger. So we're gonna put the big one next to it just so you can see for comparison. So this one's obviously made out of metal, but look at the size difference. Like the size difference is immense. Like you can probably fit that. Let me see, actually. I think you can probably fit that inside of this. Oh yeah, you can. Which opens up a whole new realm of possibilities, really. Yeah, you can totally put it in there. The only thing you probably want to watch out for is you are able to pick these up. So if you do build on this and you're picking up structures and putting them down, you want to be very careful what you have selected, because you don't want to pick this thing up and lose everything that's attached to it by accident. So definitely pay attention to that. If you have that structure enabled pickup stuff, or if you're running S+ with the demo gun, like you want to be really careful with it. I definitely made that mistake on one of our PvE servers. I was using a demo gun because I was moving from a small platform to a big one. And I was using the demo gun to pick up my whole base because I was just going to replace it over here. And I shot the actual platform by accident and lost most of my stuff. So definitely pay attention when you are building on these things, because this is one big platform. When you're placing objects, specifically when you're picking objects back up, that you're selecting those objects and not the platform by accident. But all in all, it's really cool. I really like it. The idea of basically being able to essentially build a base anywhere in the ocean that you want to. And obviously the durability. So these count as stone structures, basically, as far as what can hurt it and what can't. And this obviously counts as metal. Let's talk about some of the weapons. Now, I had the claws out first. We're going to talk about the tech claws. Now, these weapons are powered by element, so you're going to need element to actually have these run just like you normally would. These are some cool little sci-fi Wolverine claw type things. Now, these do have a combo boost, and what it does is they'll still like knock stuff down like normal. But primarily what it will do is actually speed up as I hit stuff. If you notice that, the more times I hit something, the faster I get to hit. The attack speed picks up really quick. Let's go back down real quick. I hit this rock. So normally this is my attack speed. So it's not super fast. But once you start making contact with something, it starts to pick up even faster. So that's the idea. After every consecutive attack, it picks up faster, and there's a little bit of a trickle down. So you can combo this up to start doing a crazy amount of damage to things, but it'll start to slow down quick. So it's really made for a kind of a melee spec character to be able to take him out and still fight some stuff off with it. You also have the block attack with it as well, so it's kind of like a shield slash thing in one, which is pretty nifty. Moving on, we have a pretty awesome addition. So we always liked the chainsaw because it was awesome at harvesting wood, and we always wondered, why didn't we have like a jackhammer or an excavation tools with something handheld that wasn't a pick to harvest our metal and stuff with? Well, say hello to the mining drill. The mining drill is a gasoline powered, and it'll actually pick up quite a lot of different things for you. So it has a little bit of range to it, but it'll actually pull wood off of the trees. It will actually, if you get close enough down here, it will start to harvest the berries and fiber off of berries. It'll harvest stone, it'll harvest metal, it'll harvest crystal. These guys will pretty much do it all. These guys will harvest the element off of the element shards, that the crystals that are in the volcanic biome, and also a little bit in the lunar biome, but primarily in the volcano biome. They're going to be able to harvest that stuff for you as well, making these guys pretty amazing. They will pick up black pearl deposits, they'll pick up silica pearl deposits. These guys will do a little bit of everything. They do not work. It does not work underwater though, so you're not gonna be able to do a whole lot underwater with it. But pretty much on top of on land, it pretty much does anything that you want. It does overheat after a certain amount of time of using it, so you do want to pay attention to that. If you hold this in, you'll start to see the color change to red. It'll overheat, and then you got to wait for it to cool down. But again, it does run on gasoline. It does have a durability. It goes down fairly quick. So use this sparingly. Make sure you can repair it on site if you need to. But all in all, the mining drill is pretty awesome. The other thing the mining drill does, though, is it decreases a lot of the weight of certain things. So let's look at something like, I don't know, this 100 stack of wood, right? It says it's 12.5. And if I go back, it weighs 50. So it gets while you have the mining drill equipped, it actually lessens the weight of a lot of the resources that you gather, primarily a lot of your minerals, but also to include wood. And once again, now I'll check to show you again. Now, of course, I'm running GCM, so my weight down here is maxed out. So my weight down here is maxed out, but that's not my point here. My point is over this way. So normally, while I have the mining drill equipped, a stack of 100 wood is weighing 12.5, right? And if I get out of here and unequip the mining laser and go back, it goes back to weighing 50. So wood and a lot of your other minerals and things are going to weigh significantly less when you just have this thing equipped, making your mining a lot easier, which is pretty neat. Combine that with one of the things we're going to go over next, and you definitely have an easier solution to mine all your resources with. Going on to one of the next toys, which I think is really fun, is the Tech Grenade Launcher. This guy is like a revolver. It's like a 6-shot grenade launcher, which is pretty interesting. So you can set this to do all sorts of different things. You can change the individual slots, and you'll see the grenades that are down there at my bottom right, they're all loaded in there with normal grenades. However, you can even change each specific slot to have a preloaded different grenade in it. And these grenades can shoot gas grenades, you can shoot smoke grenades, they can shoot tech grenades, they can shoot cluster grenades, and they can shoot regular grenades. So you have a lot of options with this, and it's pretty effective. Definitely makes grenade tossing, grenade spamming a little bit crazier. The fact of being able to go into a cave with something like this with cluster grenades on it, you can definitely lay down the law with one of these inside of a cave now. All in all, I like it. I think it's pretty cool, and you also get the like the little kind of like the arc to kind of show you where it's going to fire. Give you a little bit of a guide as far as aiming it goes, but I really like it. I really like the idea of being able to switch the ammo types. Like, you don't have to use just one ammo type with it. You can swap them around even midway through. Next up, we have another piece of destruction, which is probably one of the nastiest things I've seen as far as destruction in this game, and that is the Tech Cruise Missile. This cruise missile looks like Oh god, whew. So this is nuts, right? So we aim it up, we fire it, it takes off. You go into the point of view of the actual missile itself when you're flying this thing around. It will give you kind of like the Bloodstalker spider vision. You'll see the outlines of players and creatures with the white outline around them, red if they're actually hostile. But that's really not the worst part about this. The worst part is being able to guide this in and obviously blow it up. This is like the remnants of a build I was doing down there, I think. Yep. We can hit that, although I don't think it's going to do any damage because PvE is enabled on this guy. But it does. Oh, no, it definitely did. It was doing damage to that. Awesome. Okay, so it does work. Haha. We're going to load it up here again and fire it off. Mainly because I just want you to see. Oh, we were over here. So most of those little structures that were here are now gone. As you can see, it just leveled a lot of those little metal structures I had sitting up over there. It's devastating, and it has a huge AoE. Like huge AoE, huge range, very expensive to make those. So you're not getting something for nothing. You definitely have to put the work in to get these. But once you do, like, this is a raid's worst nightmare. Like, to be able to hit an enemy from this distance and do catastrophic damage to their bases without them really being able to do anything about it is pretty intense. It's very destructive. Very, very destructive. So that's pretty much most of the items in the structures. We have one more thing to go over, and that is this guy right here. So this is the tech Skiff. You're going to make this at a tech replicator, and it's going to pop out the back of a replicator. So it's not going to, it's not like the Enforcer where you put it on your person and then throw it out. It'll actually craft on the other side of the replicator. So make sure when you're actually placing the replicator, if you think you're going to build one of these, to make sure there's some room for it to pop out, because that's what's going to happen. It runs off of element, and it flies around. So when it's low flying, it goes into this hover ability, and it kind of just sits just above whatever you're flying over. It kind of maintains this little bit of altitude. Now we have 3 gauges. You have your fuel tank, which tells you how much element's going to go through before it consumes another element, like a whole element. You have the fuel usage, which is telling you just how fast it's using fuel. And in a hovering mode like this, not sprinting or whatever, it's not going to use very much. And the element available, obviously, is just telling us how much we have to do that. Now, you can sprint with this to go a little bit faster, but the fuel usage is going to go up, obviously. And then you can also increase your altitude up crazy to a flying altitude, which means you cover ground incredibly fast. This thing is super maneuverable, super fast. It's just absolutely wild. So you also have a pretty awesome weight capacity on this thing, which means putting things like storage bins on top of this thing and using it in conjunction with a mining laser to do your mining is going to be actually incredibly helpful. And as if it wasn't bad enough, this actually has a tractor beam. I'm trying to find something real quick. There you go. So you have a tractor beam that you can pick up and grab objects with. So yeah, makes your taming life just a little bit easier. And you can always release that again and just kind of let it do its own thing. But basically, this makes taming a lot easier. You can kind of pick these up and drop them down again. But yeah, so we can, pick them up, drop them back down. Makes taming a lot easier as far as 2-person tames go. The other thing, why do I not have a body anymore? I just have a floating head. Is anybody else seeing this? Is that right? What is going on? I don't have a body. I just got a floating head. I don't even have a helmet. Huh. I'm not sure. Okay. Alright, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, the tractor beam can be used to pick up a lot of creatures, and it's kind of a 2-part thing, so if you're trying to tame a creature and you have friends with you, you can tractor beam it and pull it up while somebody knocks it out. The other option is if you're trying to mine, so let's say you're trying to mine something in the volcano biome and there's a bunch of nasty stuff where you're trying to mine, you can pick them up with a tractor beam and drop them off the other side of the mountain so you don't have to worry about it. So the usefulness of the Skiff is actually pretty incredible. I will say it's a little overpowered. mainly because you're allowed to build on top of these, which means you can put turrets on top of it. And once you have a decent supply of element shards out of the volcano biome, there's nothing stopping you from putting a couple tech turrets on top of this thing and flying it around, which makes it kind of obnoxious. I think that part should be restricted as far as what you can build on this. If you have options to do that in your server settings, I would highly suggest it just from a fairness standpoint. I think it might be a little bit too easy if you're able to do that. I don't know how I feel about it. But you are able to land these just as well. You can hit try to land, and it should actually release that little ramp out. And obviously I didn't make the space big enough, but that's what it should do. But all in all, I mean, I like it. I think it's pretty cool, but I definitely see where it can be a little bit overpowered as far as some of the possibilities that you could do with it. Really, I think it has potential to be a little overpowered. But I think if it was restricted as far as what you can build on top of this and what you can't, that might make things easier. I will say it does make taming the Astrocetus, the space whale, a lot easier. If you haven't checked out our taming video, definitely check that out. You actually have to tame the giant space whale with cannons that go on the front. And, or with cannons in general, but it's a little bit easier if you just build this and put cannons on the front of it. But, I mean, it's not cheap to make, and it's not cheap to keep running. It's constantly running out of element. And, I mean, if you do put something like tech turrets on it, you're going to have a hell of a time keeping all the ammo inside of it as well. It's a high risk. I guess it's a high risk, high reward. I don't know why I don't have a body anymore. What did I do? Why don't I have a body? But that's pretty much the Genesis Engrams in a nutshell, guys. It's not super in-depth. There's not a whole lot of different things that got added, and I didn't go over, which is probably pretty self-explanatory, is the other Engrams that would have gotten added to this map expansion were saddles specifically for the creatures on this map expansion. So for the giant sea turtle, for the Astrocetus, you have special saddles for those individual tames. But anywho, guys, those are the Engrams that got added in the first Genesis expansion. Hope you liked it, and if you have any questions with it, feel free to leave something in the comments for me. Feel free to like the video, share it, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can see when the next videos are coming out. And please feel free to follow me here. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitch. We Twitch live stream Fridays and Saturdays at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And that's about all I got, guys. I would like to take a few moments, and I'm probably going to mention this in the next couple of videos that we do, and just kind of ask as a general consensus to the community. I've had a few requests for doing something of like an Ark Survivor series, like a good playthrough. From start to finish on maybe one or two of our servers. And I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea, but I'm really trying to nail down what exactly I would want to do and how I would want to do it, as far as maps and mods and, you know, settings and all that good stuff. So if you guys have any opinions or any insight on that, or something maybe you would like to see a full playthrough done with, feel free to shoot it in the comments. On any of the videos, I always check the comments. I always try my very best to come back and reply to just about everything that I see on there. And let me know, because I kind of want to get the ball rolling, but I want to make sure it's something that you guys want to see as well. So again, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. And until next time.